All right. Well, thanks for attending another RedPotion talk here. The first one, of course, was talking more kind of high level, why we're doing this, why it's good, that sort of thing. Todd did a great job of kind of laying out the case. So I'm Jamon Holmgren. I'm the creator of ProMotion. That's a picture of me from this morning that Todd took. And where'd those beakers go? Those aren't beakers. Whatever. Anyway, so I am the owner of ClearSight, which is a Rails, RubyMotion, of course, Ember. We do some other technologies studio up in Portland, Oregon, kind of right around that area. And we've been working for quite a while with Todd and Ken at Infinite Red, kind of in close collaboration on a lot of our open source projects. They have some of their staff are actually core contributors to some of my gems, like ProMotion, which I created back in 2012. And of course, there's many other gems that I've been involved with to some extent or another, either creating them or helping conceive them or do whatever. ProMotion Map, ProMotion Push, ProMotion Form, ProMotion In-App Purchase, ProMotion whatever. Anything PM dash, I probably have something to do with in some form or another. An old one that I built, actually might have even been before ProMotion, is called Parsistence. It's a little play on words. Parse.com, you guys have probably heard of that. It's a client library for that. Motion Kit, I did with Colin. When was that, Colin? Like
2013.
Yeah, 2013, so a couple years ago, and helped him kind of come up with the API. Colin did most of the work, but I was kind of sounding board for him. I did some of the coding as well, and he's kind of in the process of kind of rethinking where MotionKit might fit into this community. And I'll talk a little bit more about our experience with MotionKit as we go on, because that's one notable kind of omission from this set of gems. And then, of course, now RedPotion and BluePotion. Todd already kind of talked about how that came about, and I came on board this year. I mean, I was kind of involved, watching it from afar for a little while, but really my development shop took it on as our primary tool for creating iOS apps and now Android apps just this year. So I'll talk. That's basically what this talk is going to be about. What is, in practice, what's it look like? And I have a few months of experience working with RedPotion as we've been developing it and apps. So there's three kind of main areas. I'm going to end up spending most of my time with the conventions. Part of it is kind of code conventions, showing some examples. But I do want to talk about onboarding, because that's really important. I know there's a section here of students. And when you're coming into iOS development, you probably have not read the Cocoa Touch guidelines. You probably have not read Objective-C or Swift fundamentals from Apple. If you did, then kudos to you. I tried. And I also want to talk about the community, which, of course, you are very much a part of being at this conference. And there are also lots of people who couldn't make it, who may be watching at a later date, or I think we're even live streaming this. So let's talk RedPotion in practice. The big thing with onboarding. Let's look at what a new developer might see when they're coming into RubyMotion. If they're coming in with just vanilla RubyMotion, they're going to see the Ruby syntax and they're going to get excited. They're going to see things like motion create. That's really cool. It's kind of Railsy. Most people, not all, but most people come in knowing a little bit of Rails or maybe are very good at Rails. And so they're going to go in there and type motion create. And what are they going to get? They're going to get a very skeletal outline. It'll have an app delegate and not much else. It's a very much a stripped down version of what you're going to end up with. I'm sure that you've spent plenty of time looking at the documentation for what goes in the rake file, for example, if you have worked on RubyMotion. I have to look it up every time. I never remember what is the proper thing for orientation on the app, limit to just portrait or whatever. So Getting feedback from this? You good? Okay. So the quick spin up is really important. Potion, create my app. And what that gives you, as opposed to someone who is coming into just Motion, RubyMotion, is a little more to it. We put in the common things that we need for the rake file. We're actually, here's the secret, we're not really doing it for you, we're doing it for us. We hate having to go fill this thing out every time. And it's just this big long list. Let's just go in there and have some placeholders. Let's do that. Here's the rake file. You're going to get, of course, bundler. You're going to get your normal app setup. This goes on for, I don't know, it's something like 50, 60 lines, something like that. And you're going to need it. You're going to need all of that. We're not filling it up with stuff that you don't need. This is all stuff that you're going to have to set at one point or another. The other thing that is really important with Onboarding is, of course, documentation. We don't want a situation where you go look for documentation, the API documentation. Unfortunately, Apple made Laurent take down the RubyMotion API documentation, so you're stuck going and looking at Swift examples, Objective-C examples, and nothing in there talks about how to build a RubyMotion app. It'll talk about how Apple wants you to make it. So they say, well, just go into storyboards and start building, right? It doesn't work that way. And as Colin was telling me earlier, storyboards are a big pain to work with. We want to do things a little different. We want to do it more like what a Ruby developer might do. So this is where you currently go if you go to redpotion.org. We are in the process of putting together a couple of landing pages for redpotion.org and bluepotion.org, but they haven't landed yet. So you're going to be redirected to this website, which gives you documentation, which, as Todd mentioned, is more kind of cookbook style. It's like, how do I create a table screen? And it's kind of going to walk you through it. It's not going to have really extensive API documentation, although we're looking at maybe there's a situation where we would want to have comprehensive documentation, but it'll point you in the right direction. If you need to go to ProMotion's documentation, it'll send you there. RMQ, RubyMotionQuery.com, that sort of thing. You'll end up in the right place. So there's one central place to go to learn how we conceive or how we do app development at ClearSight and Infinite Red, as well as the other contributors. It's not just us. So code conventions, we've all heard as Ruby developers, we've all heard convention over configuration. And there's varying degrees of that. Like there's some amount of configuration that you probably should do, and it shouldn't all be kind of laid out for you. In fact, this is one of the things I want to talk about. We're looking at the most common use case, but it's never one size fits all. We end up customizing things for our own use. But let's look at common idioms for common tasks. So don't look too closely. This is actually wrong. I copied it from Gant's slide or something. So, but this is kind of a normal way to initialize. This is Objective-C if you haven't seen it. Square brackets give it away. But this is how you would initialize an application, typically in Objective-C. And we have something a little easier. App delegate, ProMotion delegate. Sorry, it's a little low here, but we have onload. You saw onload earlier. This is again, this is a third aspect that uses the same idiom, onload. So you kind of know, like, there's going to be an onload probably if it has to do with something that's going to be loaded, and you need to be notified when. In this case, we have open. This is a ProMotion screen method, and we pass in an instance of a screen, and it will then build that screen. It uses the navigation bar is very transparent to you. Those of you who are familiar with iOS development know you generally would create like a UI navigation controller and then add this as its root view controller. That was something that confused me when I first came in to iOS development. I was not really sure why to get a bar at the top I had to create something else that was a container that I put this in. Now I understand it, but at the time it was just like, it was another hurdle to get over. So I came up with the way of when you initialize it, pass in an option which is navbar true, and hey, all of a sudden I have a navbar. That's cool. That's all I need to know, right? Well, you probably need to know a little more than that about UI navigation controllers, but at least it gets you past that. So what are screens? So they're really UI view controllers under the hood. And we don't really want to get in the way of that. That's not, if you want to implement view did load, you can do that. You probably don't need to, but you could. You can also use your own subclasses. So if you wanted to have like a UI view controller, that's just a bare UI view controller, you can include into a UI view controller, you can include ProMotion screen module, and then you'll get all of the sugar that you would. In fact, that's what PM screen is. It's just basically it includes the module. So you saw this before. You get a title, style sheet. These are things that obviously they come from two different sources, but they are you can think of it as one cohesive thing. Table data, which I'll show you later. This is a ProMotion table screen, which brings, it's kind of the hook that brings people into ProMotion. You can also do just bare screens and set up your views in a different way, and I'll show you a little bit of that. So here's an example of an app we want to build. Shows players. Of course, I'm top because I built this. There's Mark, and Todd died 23 times. Yeah, you kind of suck. Offline, Darren, I don't know where he is. Ryan, who works for me, he's here. And Ken never plays, so he's too serious for games. So here's the code for that. This is a ProMotion table screen. We have the table data method. This is an array of hashes that contains, it's kind of nested here, but it's a very consistent output. We have title online. So can I go back? One more. There we go. So we have this. This is a section header. Here's another one, online, offline. And if you know anything about how tables work, UI table view controllers, UI table controllers? Table view controllers, thank you. If you know how they, exactly. This is absolutely, that's very true. Yes. So what you would have to do is you have one method that takes like, hey, where's the position? I need the cell. I need the cell for the second position in the first section. So it'd give you 0 for the section because there's 0 index here. It'd give you number 1 for the row. That'd be right here. And then you'd have to say, oh, okay, so I think I know where that is. I'm going to go query my data source, or maybe I have like a big array of data, and then I'm gonna send back a cell that's been configured for that. There's also a concept of dequeuing. So I don't know if you know this, but as you scroll up, my cell is going to go off the screen, and then it's going to be queued. So it's going to be taken off, and then the next row starts coming up, right? It's getting close, and it will dequeue it and slide it in, and then you have the option to configure it at that point and change it to someone else. So as you're scrolling, it looks like you're scrolling this huge list, and the reality is you have like 14 cells. That's it, and they just keep going past. So you kind of have to do all that. Now, Apple's making it a little easier with their newer APIs, but when I started, they didn't. It was very manual. So what does ProMotion do? Of course, let's look at this again. ProMotion is going to do all the dequeuing for you. It's going to set everything up. It knows where the title is on the cell. It's going to set that. It knows where the subtitle is. You can set actions that happen when you tap a particular cell, and it will then run a method. You can pass arguments to that method when you tap the cell. This is very powerful, and it's a way to look at, think of a settings screen. Do you really need to do a metal table, a bare metal table for a settings screen? You really don't. Just set it up like this, let ProMotion handle the rest, and move on. So here are a few things that we do, and there's actually quite a few. There are quite a few other examples of this. These are just some of the most common. On load, you've seen before. On appear, these are called lifecycle methods. On Android, we're working on ProMotion Android. They're going to be a little different. There's going to be like an on create. There's going to be on start, on resume. Thanks, Darren. He reappeared just for that. But we also find places that it kind of makes sense to do an on appear, and we inject that as well. So you can implement the same methods, and they're going to hopefully kind of run at about the right spot. On disappear, and I did on disappear twice. Yeah. Cut and paste. Do a lot of that.
Yeah, right.
So what about views and styling in RedPotion? Because I'm showing you all the cool stuff, which is screens, but you also eventually have to do views, right? Yes, you got it. Wasn't that funny? So in a screen, you would of course implement your onload method or wherever you want to do this. A lot of times I'll call out, like Todd had said, I'll call out to a different file to load this up. Maybe a module that brings in like a layout method or something. I might say layout, but in this case, let's just append a UI label and let's call it full name. And that's actually applying a style. It looks like an ID. It should have been an ID, but it's not an ID. Yes. So it's more like a CSS class because you can actually have multiple that have that same idea. It's actually a really cool idea. Style sheets you've seen before again. I'll show you actually a little more about this, but you can set the frame color to color thunderstorm. Man, who edited? Yes. So we have in the screen, here's an example where we're putting the layout method into the style sheet. That's actually kind of a cool thing. I think we're going to start doing that. So style sheet.layout, and it just goes in there and builds this for you. So all of the views append, UI view container, and you notice this, we're passing a callback to this, an implicit block to the append method. This, well, it's basically exactly the same as saying .tap do. So you're gonna essentially get whatever was created here as the local variable C, and now you can append to that. It's kind of cool. In MotionKit, we would just kind of assume that, like when you append, it's going to append to C. And Todd and I kind of went back and forth about this. Should it be more like MotionKit, where it kind of knows where it is in the hierarchy? But he convinced me, and I think it's a good idea to remove that implicitness. There's a lot of complexity, as Colin knows, when you're trying to maintain that kind of state. So it'll just pass back the RMQ object, which is kind of wrapping it. If you've used jQuery, you know that you can kind of decorate the object, and then you have other methods like append. So we're appending all these things. We're actually going 2 levels deep, doing a subtitle inside of a subview, which is inside of the container. You can do that with RedPotion. Now, in the real world, which is what this talk is supposed to be about, we do this all the time. I can pull up open apps and show you. We have layout methods, and they have all of this structure. It looks a lot like maybe an HTML file would, a little different, but you get the idea. And it's just made it really easy to know where is something set up. We know. We're going to go there. We're going to find it. Rather than having many different ways to do things, you're going to have one spot that, hey, go put your views there, append everything. There you go. You can also do things like, just search for your whole project for :thumbnail, and you can find it. Inside the style sheet, you're going to have methods that are named the same as your styles, which is the symbol that's passed in to append. And then you can apply, this is a decorator that allows you to apply like a background color. And then this color.cloud, the cool thing about that is that you can define colors, very similar to what Rich had, where you can go in there and basically say this is for my whole app. It's going to be called cloud, and I'm not going to call it like button background color. I'm just going to name it a specific name, which is, by the way, what the designer understands. They're going to say change this button to cloud, and you know how to do that. Title, in this case, we have a color, we have a frame. The frame has top, left, from right, and height. That's pretty common. You're gonna set all those things. It's first in. Last one wins. So in this case, we're setting top, left, from right, height. None of that's going to conflict. We don't raise an exception. We'll just go ahead and apply another height or another top or another left or another right. That probably should change in some future version, but for now, you just have to remember that these all get applied in order. They don't? Okay, what he said. So Todd says actually they were applied in the order that you probably meant.
The nice thing about the hashes, unlike the array of frames,
Yeah.
you don't have to put in the right order. That was
Okay. Okay. That's actually a pretty important point. So we're gonna try to make the right decisions based on what you're putting in. For some reason, I thought it was different, but then I'm not a front end guy, so. Yes. Yes.
When you're appending these, are these the wrappings in RNQ the same thing you had before? In other words, the thing that gets returned from this is the style.
anything in RMQ always returns an instance of RMQ, which is basically just enhancing, right?
Right, but I mean, are these wrap style things that you guys have or not?
This returns an array of views. In this case, array of one view.
Oh, okay. So these are building views.
Yeah.
It's wrapped.
It is wrapped.
It's wrapped. It's wrapped
Yes.
like jQuery.
However, you can do a bang method, append bang, and it will return the view. The actual view. Yeah. Yep. And we're actually doing something very similar. Todd says we don't inject, or I'm sorry, monkey patch in RMQ. There is one monkey patch, and that's RMQ data, and we're dumping in, like you do, basically some data that allows us to wrap it again if we need to. The wrapping actually goes away, but since they're stateless, and you can just kind of like wrap it anytime you want. You can grab a view and just surround it and find my view, and it will grab it again and wrap it, and you have everything you need. So when you're doing c.append, that's a method on the RMQ object.
The only thing I would ask or mention
Yes. Go for it.
I mean, because these are regularized things, right now you're making them know the class hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
UI label, UI text view. You could
Right.
actually have symbols there because you actually could translate that pretty easily, and they are consistent. You let them pass in a constant.
Right.
But if they pass in a symbol, you can make that thing.
Right.
You can pass a constant or currently an actual instance or a set of instances.
But I mean, if you passed in colon label,
Yeah.
Actually, where you're going is something that's really
just a thought.
good.
Yeah.
The only problem is we use that in Android to select views out of
To what?
we use it in Android to
Yeah.
select views out of XML.
In Android we're using a lot of XML. So yeah. It's not a bad idea at all, and it's actually something we should talk about for the XML thing because it's too important a point to.
When I look at this,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, but it's UI. Yeah.
Now,
No.
we also Dan just pointed out.
No, yeah. So one of the advantages is in the touching of Android, the idea of labels and text views are sort of synergizing. Not to use that word at the conference. I'm sorry.
You should be sorry.
You know,
I
as
have
far
a
as
business I'm running. I'm good with it.
But I mean, one of them calls it this, one of them calls it that. They're the same thing. We can, we are already
If you did
bringing
that,
those
then
together.
you know to look
Yeah,
for
in
Yeah.
Android we create potion, colon, button, potion,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, we're-
right, they're literally like this long.
Yeah, we're
We could do the same
kind of normalizing that. Yeah.
I don't want to disrupt your flow.
No, that's fine. Yeah, it's a really good point. And as we go more toward Blue Potion, these are the discussions we need to have because, I mean, one of the counterpoints to that is you really shouldn't have Android and iOS layout be exactly the same. Like they really are two different things, and in very, very few cases do you really want the exact same layout. And so, you can, but in Blue Potion, as Darren will be showing you, the syntax is very similar, and we're not really trying to write once, run everywhere. We're trying to learn once and write everywhere. Yes, don't have constants. Yeah, you can map that. Yep. Okay, so let me move on to. So you've seen this as well. One thing to point out is like BP. This you can write this out below _ previous, but that's what it means, below previous, and it literally means the previous thing that was appended. Sibling, the previous sibling that was appended. So it kind of just does what you would expect it to do.
But you can't tell from this file what that is.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
always use
Believe, yeah.
many times you want.
Yes.
Yeah, if they're going to be relative.
And in this case, you're probably wanting it to be below whatever is previous, and you can switch that out. So, okay. So let's move on to another example. These are things that I didn't necessarily pull out of actual apps, but this is stuff that we've written all the time. So in this case, an onload might look like this. You have stylesheet.layout, or maybe you append everything right there. That's fine. Like if you want to see everything right in your UI view controller / screen, go for it. But in this case, I'll probably do stylesheet.layout. Let's find all of the UI labels. This is kind of a jQuery-esque type thing. It's going to go and traverse, and it's going to find all of the UI labels in the entire current screen that's looking. And let's set data to blank. So you can just clear all of the labels and set them to blank. This is kind of cool. You wouldn't necessarily do that in an onload, but you might do that if you were doing something experimental like I did, where you're trying to use more of a React framework where you're running through and you're saying, okay, let's set all of the data throughout the app with this new like state object or hash. I tried that in an app. It's sometimes a little difficult, but it's actually really fun. Find a particular name. So find title, and then you can set the data to @user.fullname. So common idiom that we use. I should talk about the .data method for a second. So every object that is kind of a container object, so there would be like a UI label. This contains text. UI button also contains text. UI image view contains an image. These things all have, a lot of times you're wanting to set that, you're wanting to change that throughout the course of the app. So we just use .data for everything. We probably could have used like .val or .text maybe, but then that wouldn't have worked for images, things like that. We could have used a different word, but .data is what we've settled on, and I actually really like this because I don't have to think about it. Like, I don't have to know a UI button is not text equals. It's actually like set title for state. Yes, Amir's shaking his head over there. So .data, just pass in what you want, and it does the smart thing. Attach events is just a method that I defined, and I'll show you that in this next screen. So there's another convention is how do you handle user interaction? Apple does it two different ways. One is kind of target action. So you say that, hey, self, and call this method on self when this interaction happens. The other way they do it is with, of course, like a Lambda. So they'll have something with block, and then you pass in a block. So ARMQ, and actually a few predecessors to ARMQ, like SugarCube and wrap it up? Okay.
Wrap it up. Just keep going.
Okay, yes. Thanks, guys, for wasting all my time. No, just on tap, and then you pass in a block. This is how you always do it this way. Whenever you tap a schedule, and you don't even have to know what that is. It could be a view, which will just attach a recognizer on it. It could be a button that already has something, and then run this block. So open something, log out, call another method in this screen, those types of things. So I've really enjoyed this because you can go into a particular screen, look for the method that does this, and just see everything that's going to happen within a particular user interface. Data, this is core data, which Ken Miller. So he built CDQ, which wraps core data. Yes, sorry. Yes, that was a mistake.
No need for insults.
So this is very active record-like. It's not active record. You have to learn some different things, but it gives you a better syntax. So I might say .notes equals something, and then app.data.save. You don't save individual objects in core data. I think you probably could, but it's really weird. So you just say app.data.save, anything that's dirty. Even, by the way, this is a gotcha, even if you just said favorite.create something, which actually might call save for you, but I don't remember. And you don't assign it to a variable, you think it was garbage collected. No, it's living somewhere, and when you say save, it will be saved. So, but for the most part, it looks very similar. This is how you would kind of put that together in CDQ and /RedPotion. define a schema. You can actually copy. And this is what we do. We'll copy from our Rails application, copy it in, and transform it. I believe that, it doesn't map exactly, but there's enough commonalities that it makes it very easy to do. So you can see you have a string, integer, required, date, time, created at, updated at.
Just like active record created at and updated at are done for you automatically.
Oh, okay. So you don't even need to put those.
No, you have to put them in your schema, but you don't ever have to touch those.
Okay. So yes, CDQ will update those as you're going through. So.
You have a thing that will let you run against your Rails app, a command line generator for your schema. You made one.
Yes. Matt made one. Yes, Matt made one. It's really cool. Yeah, this allows that because we can, and I'll talk about that a little later. But it shows that we can, with these common idioms, build tools around it. So, and here's one that Todd is working on now: app.net.post, and then you get a response from it, and you can. This is just AF Motion. If you used AF Motion, it's very similar. But I don't like AF Motion's. Like there's more setup that you have to do. This is just it's available. If you put the gem in there, it's going to be available to you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry? Yeah, this is AF Motion. Yes, I'll show you that next. Or not next, later. Code reloading. So this is something that we stumbled across, and it's cool that it's going to be in the core of RubyMotion now. But when we have common libraries and common idioms, then we can go in here and say, on live reload on a particular screen, do something standard. So on a table screen, all we have to do is update the table data, and it'll reload everything. Okay, so this is the third thing, but really important, and I'll be fast here. Community, it's a shared direction for all of us. So when we've kind of settled around some core ideas, then we can all build on it. We can build things like what Matt built. Here's one of my favorite things: deprecate APIs. So every time iOS comes out, they're going to deprecate something, which usually means they just remove it, and then they say it's deprecated. So here's iOS 9. Address book and address book UI frameworks are gone. Actually, they might be still in there. I don't know. Use the contacts and contacts UI frameworks instead. So you're looking at this, you're like, well, this gem doesn't support it, but this one does, but I don't like this one as much. No, let's find the ones that are most widely used. Let's keep those right up to the edge. Let's keep them up to date. Let's all use them so that we can keep them up to date. I think that's a big part of the community, is everybody kind of pulling in the same direction. Add-on gem ecosystem. So Gant made the app.alert part of RedPotion. It's called Red Alert, and it just has a really nice, pleasing syntax for creating alerts. And there's many different ones. Go check out the README. It's awesome. So building gems, you can build now for RedPotion rather than just for ProMotion or for RMQ. You can say this gem needs CDQ, ProMotion, RMQ, and you'll be assured that they're going to be there. Also improvements to the core. So this is a CDQ managed object, which is basically like a model. And you can see here that we have some new things that Mark added in, being able to set a default scope and provide a cell method. So this cell just returns a data hash, which corresponds to ProMotion's expectation for data, or for a cell. And so it will set up that cell how it would expect it to look. And in a lot of cases, that's all you need. Like, that's really simple. Maybe there's some violations of, separations of concerns or whatever, but that never stopped Mark. So, so here's one literally this would be all you would put. You would just say to-do screen, give it a title, and tell it what model and what scope you wanna go by. This particular scope sort name. Mark.
We need some data, core data.
But other than that,
It would work. This would work.
That would work.
Yes. You guys like that? That's cool, huh? Nice job. All right. So this is the last slide. So really quickly, we set up a Slack channel. I think it's really cool if all you guys could join it. Just go to motioneers.herokuapp.com and sign up for our Slack channel. It's community Slack. People will be on there. I'm on there. People from my team are on there. Ask questions. We're happy to help you get started with RedPotion. Ask questions about BluePotion. There's different channels for these things. Also, there's the discourse community.rubymotion.com, which we also keep an eye on. So this is a big part of RedPotion, BluePotion is making sure that we provide the help to get you to the next level, where we can't really do that if you're using this weird gem that we've never used before. And so I would say it's faster, easier, more enjoyable iOS development with RubyMotion. That's it.